Will it be different in the second half? That's the end of the first half. The score, Minnesota 10, Dallas nothing.
Not all radial tires are the same. Some have smooth-riding polyester cord. Some have steel belts. Some have steel stabilizers for handling. Some have a computerized tread to hold in the wet. Some have special grooves for precise cornering. But only Goodyear has them all. The Goodyear Steel Guard Radial, with these 5 guards to help protect you 5 ways. Steel Guard, only from Goodyear.
Okay, I don't have to tell you, men, that life is no pushover.
Right.
But Joe and his family need life insurance protection badly. Right. And this New York Life team is going to get it for him, right? Let's go. Protect his family. Take the worry off his back. He wants to retire in comfort. Show him the way, New York Life.
Where the name of the game is life, there's New York Life.
It makes sense to me that the man who handles America's only lead-free premium gasoline is going to give you good value in everything he sells, from tires, batteries, and quality motor oils to many kinds of service your car needs. He's your Amoco dealer, and he has more than quality gasoline. Like they say, you expect more from Amoco, and you get it.
Stay tuned for NFL Playbook, sponsored by the American Express card, after this word from your local station.
See Jeanette Nolan, alias Dirty Sally, in the role that inspired a brand new television series tomorrow night on Gunsmoke, here on CBS.
.351. Hey.
Which credit card should you take on vacation?
Frankly, the American Express card is the only card that I would ever use. Whereas a lot of other cards are not readily acceptable, the American Express, I've never had it turned down, I've never had it questioned.
I can't possibly imagine going on a vacation without an American Express credit card. American Express just opens the doors for me wherever I want to go.
I never travel with cash. I always travel with an American Express card. It's a dynamite credit card.
Call 800-AE8-5000 to apply for an American Express card.
I feel that the deceptive game, which the screen is one of the essentials of deceptive game, plus the draw play, those are the things that really make an excellent passing game.
Number 1 offense, the starting team out, 2-minute period.
Basic purpose of a screen pass is to discourage the pass rush, because unless you can slow down the defensive line's rush in passing situations, you're not going to have an effective passing game.
Go over the coaching points of the screen play. Now, the main thing is that Blaine, in this position, he's a key to the screen because his timing must be perfect in order to pull the lineman out into the setup. Now, Walt, in your position right here, the thing you're doing on the snap of the ball is I'm checking the blitz right here. If he's coming, I'm going to engage him, and then I'm going to slip out into the screen. If he isn't coming, my next pickup is the end right here. Then as soon as I've checked the outside man, the end, then I'll come into the seam and start to search. And as soon as Blaine releases, I pick it up and go. Okay, let's run it once.
The simplest screen that we have is where we just call a screen right or left, which means that the back on that side will be the one that will run the screen pattern. The techniques that are involved in this particular type of screen is the back who's setting in the screen look as though he is blocking on the play, and then what he's trying to wait for is for the release of the guard who leads the screen out to his side, and as soon as he sees that guard move, then he will slide inside of the block of the tackle and move out into position to catch the ball. And the back and the guard release is the most essential thing, I think, in a screen, and that's the most difficult thing to get. The quarterback's function is very important, and his action when he comes away from the center, he drives very deep, very fast. He hesitates a second and give the defensive lineman the impression that he's in the pocket ready to throw as they release from the lineman. And as soon as he feels this, he drops again for the timing of the pass before he lays off to the back. If you get those four linemen coming at you and the quarterback's able to draw them in on him, then you'll have an effective screen 9 times out of 10. If you're going to defeat a screen, then you have to defeat it basically with defensive line recognition. The back is, if he sets in there and doesn't do anything, he's just like a zombie. If he just stands there, then everybody in the league will recognize that it's a screen. If he sits there and doesn't really look like a blocker, then these are the things that the defensive linemen read. And as soon as they read it, they're right out with him. You'll see them grab him in film after film. You'll see a defensive lineman go in there and grab a back. Well, the back is not an actor. You got to be an actor to run a good screenplay. Well, the offensive guard, who is the lead blocker in the screen, his initial hit will be almost the same, but not quite as tough as he would do on normal pass protection. Then he tries to get the defensive lineman to avoid him away from the screen instead of towards the screen, where he might pick up the back. The whole timing is set on the lead guard. He has to have the timing of the screen. He must make it look as though it's a pass, and then he must release on timing, because everything is controlled by him. When he goes, everybody goes. The basic left-right screen that we've been talking about is the one that started as far back as you can remember in football in the passing game. But since that time, we have a number of different variations of the screen. What we call the quick screen variation. The back just checks quick and flares, and the lineman just hit on a one count, brush block, and go. And if those defensive linemen have taken 2 steps in, it's too late, because the back's already outside on the move. It's a real speed screen. If you have an exceptional runner that does a great job in open field, then this is the best way to get him out in the open. You try not to change your timing from one type of screen to another. And so what happens on a double screen is that the initial fake of your screen is very quick, the way you don't want to go. And as soon as those defensive men, and they see the quarterback start his fake that direction, then they'll turn to go into the screen immediately. When that happens, then the quarterback works away from that, back out the other side where your screen is set up. In our arsenal of screens that we have, we feel like today to counter all the many different defensive variations that we get, that we must have a number of different types of screens, whether they're right and left, whether across the backfield, whether a tight end screen, or whether a quick screen to either back, or a quick screen out to the outside people. We have all those screens within our playbook. And in our game plan, we'll choose the one that's going to be most effective for the opponent that we're going up against that week.
Washington, D.C., and some advice from people who travel for a living.
The American Express card seems to be the only one I can use everywhere I go.
I don't have any other credit cards. I just use the American Express card. And I've traveled from Maine to Hawaii in it, and it's never been turned down yet.
I don't have a lot of other credit cards. The American Express card is all that I need. When I'm on the road, I live on my American Express card because it's so universally accepted.
Call 800-AE8-5000 to apply for an American Express card.
Happy New Year, everyone. From all of us at CBS, it's 10-0 here at halftime of this NFC Championship game. Jack Buck, Pat Summerall, Wayne Walker. Hope we've added to your enjoyment of the game. And the Cowboys might come back, Pat, but their fans and their team has to be bitterly disappointed at what has transpired thus far.
Well, Minnesota, you really can't take too much away from the job, but they've done, particularly running against the Dallas defense that over the years has been very difficult to run against. They've done a great job of controlling Leroy Jordan in the middle. Mick Tingelhoff has done a spectacular job in executing those blocks up the middle, and they've just dominated the game, quite frankly. Now, as you look ahead to the second half, Tom Landry in Dallas is not a guy who's going to make a lot of basic changes. He's going to stick to the same things that he's been doing and just try to make them work, just try to execute a little bit better. But Minnesota has dominated the first half, haven't they, Wayne?
Yes, they have, Pat. You know that Bud Grant has always talked about the over-importance of a game plan. He always feels that you have to be a counter-puncher in a game. Come in and see what's happening and then adjust your moves from there. But they did come into this ball game this afternoon with 2 or 3 things in mind, 2 or 3 new plays, a misdirection of the guard that held Leroy Jordan, a sprint-out draw that worked a couple times. And so they came in with 2 or 3 new plays, which is a little bit strange for them, and they worked.
Of course, Dallas has a built-in excuse if they're going to need excuses when it's over with the absence of Calvin Hill. He adds an entire dimension to the game by himself.
Well, of course, he's a better pass-receiving target than Bob Newhouse is, merely by the fact that he's 6 inches taller. He might have a little bit more speed than Newhouse. He's probably a little bit more durable than Bob. I think that's one of the questions the Cowboys had about Bob, whether he'd be able to hold up under a long game competition like this.
This game started so slowly with the people popping each other and feeling each other out. And then Tarkenton started to throw the ball on first down, and he forced Staubach to do the same thing when the Cowboys got behind. His play calling, Wayne, has been exquisite here today.
Well, Pat mentioned earlier, he's really had them off balance, back on their heels. I've never seen him look more poised and more confident than he does today.
And excuse me, Jack, on the other side of the fence, Staubach has not been very sharp at all. His passing has been off. The whole rhythm of the Dallas offense has been off considerably.
I'm not rooting for Minnesota. I really don't care. None of us do who wins the game. We just like to see a good football game. But you have to feel pleased for Tarkenton because he's been on the hook so long and so badly maligned that this has got to be a great day for him. To this point, of course, we're not saying the game's over.
I'd like to say something about that. That has been a lot of media talk about Fran Tarkenton, a fellow that the people that have played against him and played with him over the years know that he's a great competitor and a great winner, and that's been overplayed over the years.
We're almost ready to begin the second half with Dallas kicking to Minnesota.
The National Football Conference Championships are being sponsored by New York Life Insurance Company and your local New York Life agent, and by the new premium wines from Ernest and Julio Gallo, and by Goodyear, makers of the custom Steel Guard radial tire, and by Ford and your Ford dealer. The closer you look, the better we look.
Fuel shortages hurt, travel's cut to the core. Now we sell by long distance, don't get around much anymore. Closed a deal in L.A., bid a job in Bangor. Now we sell by long distance.
With long distance, you can still get around and save money, too. It's the next best thing to being there.
Ever stay at a hotel you thought was convenient, only to find out your business is way across town? Well, Holiday Inn gives you a choice of locations in every major city. Just look at the time. There's another Holiday Inn. And as every businessman knows, that can really pay off.
Has the 85th Tournament of Roses Parade. On New Year's Day, June Lockhart and Bob Barker will be the commentators. The Rose Bowl Parade commences here on CBS at 11:30 Eastern Time. Cowboys are at their 20 and trailing 27-10. 8.5 minutes. They have time if they can get something done here. Pearson, incomplete. And it was Jeff Wright and Nate Wright in on the tackle, and they're really belting him back there, aren't they?
Getting a good pass rush, and Jim Marshall comes back after the back injury before Bob Lurtsema comes out.
These Cowboy receivers know that they're going to get walloped, upended when they catch a ball. Minnesota defense has held forth here today, and Tarkenton has taken them on to 27 points along with Bobby Bryant. 2nd and 10. Pearson to the right, Hayes to the left. Larson is after him. Staubach gets away. He's going out of bounds. And the man who ran him out is shaken up. Bobby Bryant is a little slow in getting to his feet. He's a tough customer, number 20, 6'1", 170 pounds. You see him walking alongside of Hilgenberg and Page. You can tell he's not big at all, but he makes you pay when you play in his area. 3rd down and 2. That's the first completed pass by Staubach in the second half of this game. He's completed 7 and 4 intercepted. 3rd and 2. And the bomb. Pearson, Bryant. Nobody. Incomplete. Bryant got some help from Paul Krause, and the Cowboys, trailing by 17, have to punt it away with 8:05 remaining in the game. That Pearson's had 2 people with him wherever he's gone, Pat.
They've pretty well taken care of his appearance on the field today. He hasn't been able to do anything. Hasn't caught but one 5-yard sideline pass.
On 4th down and 2, and I mentioned the yardage because Cowboys might not kick the ball. Bateman is back to punt inside his 15. He kicks it away. It's high in the air, and Bryant calls for the fair catch. Fumble. Minnesota. No. Dallas. Bill Gregory, number 77, came away with the pigskin.
That was a funny-looking punt by Bateman, sort of a knuckleball that Bryant never did find the handle on. Vikings were around it right here, but just couldn't come up with it. This ball's still loose now.
It bounced up to Gregory, as it turned out. Well, still time for the Cowboys. 7:54 remaining if they can get in. Pearson's got it. The 15 now, and the ball squirted away. He got it back. Jeff Wright almost grabbed it as it squirted away from Pearson.
You know they've got to be a little bit conscious about getting hit when they catch the ball because they've taken some awful shots. Pearson here again gets hit hard.
Well, that's really great concentration right there. He didn't come off that ball for a second, and he knew that he was in a crowd.
Now the ball squirts away right there. And Pearson pulled it back in. Pearson has now caught 2 passes for 25 yards. He goes to the left, Hayes to the right. 7:10 remaining in the game. Minnesota leading by 17. And a flag. It'll be 1st and goal. Called against Nate Wright.
Let's watch Bobby Hayes now. I think you'll see number 43, Nate Wright. Watch his arm. It'll get around in front as he tries to play over the ball. And he was holding him with that right arm.
Yeah, it was the old right arm that got him in trouble. 1st and goal from the 2-yard line. Dupree and Fugit come in. Try to help with the blocking and get Dallas into the end zone. 7:03 remaining in the game. Garrison and Newhouse. Garrison is at the goal line. Fumble. And And Minnesota gets the ball.
Gary Larson, I think, came up with it. I'll tell you, what a job this defense has done.
Boy, you can't say enough good things about this Minnesota defense. Larson did come up with the ball.
That's a hit by Hilgenberg right here. It's that ball there. Now watch the ball come right back, right underneath Gary Larson.
I'll be darned. I thought the Cowboys were going to get in and cut the margin to 10 points with 7 minutes left.
Well, they've had plenty of opportunities, no question about that. But the Minnesota defense has just been great.
Now Tarkenton will be inclined to use as much time as he can as he starts from his own 3. He gives it to Oscar Reed. The Cowboys have had 6 turnovers in this game, 2 fumbles, 4 interceptions. You can't win like that.
Not against a team like Minnesota.
Reed carried out to the 6-yard line. It'll be 2nd down and 7. We're coming up on the 6.5-minute mark in the game. Less than that now. A few of the Dallas faithful have started to file out. Reed again. And he gets a couple of yards. Jethro Pugh wrapped him up along with D.D. Lewis. Now we're coming up on the 6-minute mark, and Minnesota maintains their 17-point advantage. They led at the half 10-0. The end of the 3rd quarter, they led by only 7. And then it all started. Despite the interception by Waters, the fumble by Staubach, a fumble by Tarkenton, an interception by Bryant, an interception by Jeff Wright, a fumble by Garrison. The ball is at the 9, and it's 3rd and 4. 5.5 minutes left. And I'll be darned, they get a first down with Oscar Reed. And the Vikings will keep the ball a while longer. Cliff Harris made the tackle. Reed started up the middle, as you saw, then ducked outside very quickly.
And that's another mark of a fine football team, as Oscar Reed either is tired or got the wind knocked out of him.
Bill Brown replaces him.
To be back buried in your own goal line, close to your own goal line, and be able to come out of there with a first down when you're trying to run out the clock, as the Vikings are, is, as I said, the mark of a very, very good team.
Reed had a good game last week against Washington. Another good one. Ball is at the 19-yard line, and Foreman got a couple. Now we're coming up. Tempers flare. The officials break it up. 4.5 minutes left. Minnesota 27-10 over Dallas.
Not too much strategy involved now, as the Vikings will just try to run out the clock. Tarkenton, by the way, has called, it seems to me, an almost perfect football game. One bad pass, I think, is about the only mistake he's made.
2nd down and 7 from the Minnesota 22. And Bill Brown crosses the 25, bringing about a 3rd down play. 3:45 remaining in the game.
Bill Brown is really something special as far as football players go. He's played 13 years, number 30. He is the leading active rusher in the NFC, and we've watched him from time to time this afternoon on special teams, which he really relishes.
And he can catch the ball, too.
He's the Vikings' all-time leading pass receiver as well.
We didn't have a turnover in the entire first half of this game, but the second half has been replete with fumbles and interceptions. 3rd and 2 here, and another first down. Foreman got it this time, crossing the 30-yard line, and we come up on the 3-minute mark. Cliff Harris was the tackler. As we mentioned earlier, Brent Musburger and Jack Whitaker are part of our telecasting crew, and our post-game show today will take you into both dressing rooms, the winners and the losers. And So stay tuned for that, because it won't be long. 2:40 remaining in the football game, and the clock running. One more play than the 2-minute mark will stop the clock. Running with it is Foreman. Dallas trying to tackle the ball. Foreman gets 5 yards. And Tarkenton checked the clock. He'll not run another play. The officials will next indicate the 2-minute mark. Coming off is Milt Sunday limping.
You're looking now at the play by middle linebacker Leroy Jordan, as Sunday apparently hurt himself when he made that block.
Now Dallas takes a timeout. So Dallas employs one of their timeouts. This is 2nd down and 6 coming up.
Well, if Dallas truly did take a timeout, I would be very surprised, because just 6 seconds left before they'd stop it for the 2-minute mark.
But that's what they've done.
In a Ford Model T, you can depend on just about everything, except the weather. In a Ford Pinto, you can make your own weather. Pinto's price is so low you can afford a sunroof, air conditioning, a rear window defroster to make the weather inside your Pinto as dependable as your Pinto. The economical little Pinto. Base sticker price $24.42, excluding dealer prep, destination charges, title, and taxes. At your local Ford dealer.
A good man can captain a ship. But now you realize it's a richer man who can captain respect. That's a gusto world worth finding and celebrating.
Once around life.
Any more, Captain? Here's to you, Captain.
Once around living.
Good luck, Skipper.
Once around being.
In your boot, then.
You'll keep around Schlitz.
Here's to you. Good on you, Skipper.
A while back in this game, Dallas had 1st and goal on the 2-yard line, and they fumbled. Pat, you just know this game would have been different with Hill in the game, Calvin Hill.
Well, it's another dimension added to the Dallas offense, in addition to being the 1,000-yard rusher that he was and has been for the last 2 years. He poses so many other threats that a defense has to consider.
2:06 remaining in the game. 2nd and 6 for Minnesota, and Foreman has to go very deep, trying to turn the corner. And Cliff Harris came up and met him and bumped him out, and now we have 2:01 remaining on the clock. So Dallas is able to make use of all the remaining time, for there'll be yet another play, and then the 2-minute warning. It tells the story, 27-10. There's Nate Wright, number 43, and Gary Larson, 77. These folks are headed for Houston. In 2 minutes, there'll be one NFC team alive, and that'll be the Vikings. And no one can say they didn't earn it here today, Wayne Walker.
No, they played super, and actually what they are earning is $8,500, the winner shares of today's game, and a guarantee, I think, of $16,000 whether they win or lose at the Super Bowl. So it was worth showing up for.
3rd down and 1. And another 1st down. The Vikings will keep the ball. Benny Barnes came up and put the final stop on it, along with Cliff Harris. But Reed got the 1st down. CBS will resume its coverage of the NBA next weekend. Sunday at 2:30 Eastern Time, the Phoenix Suns and the Chicago Bulls. You'll be doing that one, Pat.
Along with Hot Rod Hundley and Elgin Baylor.
Not only on Sunday afternoons on CBS, but some Saturday afternoons and some evening games through the end of the playoffs. That's the NBA on CBS, where you see the best in basketball on the #1 network. There's Calvin Hill. Had to be a dreadful day for him. Laid up with a dislocated elbow. A very untimely injury. And the Vikings, obviously pleased with what they've accomplished. They beat a good Washington team. And they beat a good Dallas team here this afternoon. 1:58 remaining in the game. The ball to the Minnesota 44-yard line. Chuck Goodrum is playing on the offensive line for the Vikes. I think we had Osborne in there for the first time, carrying the ball. Dave Osborne, the 9-year veteran from North Dakota, number 41. He got across the 45. 1:45 remaining in the game. Cowboys have 2 timeouts remaining. They're not inclined to employ them. They'd be kicking a dead dog if they did, Pat.
Just making it last a little longer.
Ed Marinaro is in there with Dave Osborne. My hat is off to Fran Tarkenton. We've said earlier that you're not looking at a loser any longer. You're looking at a winner. And he has had a day today.
He's called an outstanding game.
2nd down and 7. Osborne blows through for another first down. 1:10 remaining. Tackler Cliff Harris. They were rather deep in the running back department.
I'll say 5 good ones.
And the rookie Brent McClanahan you could also put in there. So Foreman, Reed, Marinaro, Brown, McClanahan, and Osborne give the Vikings a lot of depth. The clock is stopped with 1:03 left.
Dallas did take a timeout then. They have 1 remaining now. Chuck Foreman's had a very active day. He carried 20 times for 76 yards. The long gain of 20 yards.
Tarkenton has completed 10 out of 21. 1 interception. And the most spectacular play of the day, the long one to Gilliam. He could stand out there, Wayne, throw the ball 50 times and not throw it like he did that one.
I think Pat had it really right when he said he just dropped back and threw it just as far as he could.
The Vikings are approaching the 300-yard mark. 186 yards running against Dallas and 101 through the air. It's 1st and 10 from the Dallas 45. There goes Osborne. Pat, we see this happen frequently at this stage of the game when the defense tries to tackle the football.
Many times it results in long gains like that. Dallas, as we mentioned, has 1 more timeout left. I doubt that they'll take it, particularly now with another first down by Minnesota.
The ball to the Dallas 30-yard line. Less than 40 seconds remaining. 1 more play and that'll be it unless the Cowboys stop the clock. And the Vikings will head for the Super Bowl in Houston, which you'll see on CBS on the 13th of January. Houston and the winner of the Miami-Oakland game. Another first down for Minnesota. Osborne hangs onto the ball and Gregory twists him down. Now there are 10 seconds left. And the Cowboys say, no, that's it. And the Vikings are the champions of the National Football Conference. 2 seconds, 1 second, it's all over. And 27-10 is the final score. Fran Tarkenton took his team to the division title, then led the Vikings to the win over the Washington Redskins by 7 points last week. And another superb afternoon for the 13-year veteran from Georgia. Wayne Walker, any additional comments that we didn't make during the course of the action?
Well, you know, we get a little carried away. Things were working so well for the Vikings today. Their precision, everything was really good, but I think we didn't point out that they really out-hit the Cowboys in every phase of the game. Whenever a ball was cut in their secondary, they were really laying the leather to people. And, you know, you really have to get back to the basics of football, and it is hustling and it is hitting, and they really hit today.
The Vikings came up with 21 first downs, and they went over 300 yards, 305 yards in total offense against the Dallas team. And you just know that they missed Bob Lilly and Greg Hill. But that doesn't detract from the accomplishment of the Minnesota team today.
Well, Calvin Hill being out of there certainly hurt the Cowboys, but as you said, you can't take anything away from Minnesota. I doubt it would have made a difference winning or losing the ball game had Calvin Hill been there because of the performance that the Vikings turned out today.
The first time they had the ball, they kept it for 9 minutes, and Fred Cox kicked a field goal. We have player interviews coming up, and I'm sure you'll enjoy hearing not only what the winners, the Vikings, have to say, but also the losers, the Cowboys. And our friend Jack Whitaker is down on the playing field.
Thank you very much, Jack Buck and Wayne Walker and Pat Summerall. You won't believe it, but the last Cowboy just a second ago went up this tunnel. They left this field very, very slowly, very reluctantly, and I think it took the Minnesota Vikings about 3 seconds for all of them to be up and whooping up in that winning dressing room where we'll be going in a moment. Another thing here, this big Texas stadium was almost half empty with about 2 minutes left to play here as the fans in Dallas here had given up already on the Cowboys. We'll be talking with all the heroes, and there certainly were 22 of them at least on the Minnesota Vikings. And we'll have a word or two from the Cowboys, too, in just a moment. Brent Musburger is standing by, and we'll return to the winning dressing room here at the NFL Championship in just a moment.
Colt 45's blue plastic clean top carrier seals out anything that could mess up the top of your can. If unique is what you seek, Colt 45 malt liquor.
When the Dutch Master's tobacco buyer comes to Colombia, South America, he visits tobacco dealers like me, Lorenzo Hernandez, and he buys the top grades of tobacco we have to sell. Dutch Masters also buys the best grades of tobacco from Brazil, Puerto Rico, and Santo Domingo, as well as Colombia. Since Dutch Masters buys the best tobacco, they must make a very good cigar.
The final score here was 27-10. The Vikings over the Cowboys. The score here at halftime was 10-0. And the Cowboys missed so many chances that they'll be lamenting this day for a long time. Brent Musburger down in the dressing room of the winners.
And as you can imagine, Jack Buck, we have a very excited winners dressing room. This is Bobby Bryant, who today intercepted 2 of the passes thrown by Roger Staubach on my left. On my right, Jim Marshall. The defense of the Vikings absolutely overpowering again. And Bobby, tell me about that one interception. You really turned the game around. 68-yard return for a touchdown.
Well, I didn't realize it was 68 yards, but we went on zone coverage, and Bob Hayes just ran a breakout pattern, and I read his pattern. I was still about 5 or 10 yards off, and I looked at Staubach, and he was looking out, and he threw the ball, and I was able to get up and get it, and just clear sailing after that.
And you also set one up for Jeff Seaman besides the 2 that you intercepted.
Yes, that was kind of a lucky play, really. I hit the tight end. Staubach had thrown a pass to him, and the ball just deflected up. I didn't really see what happened. I'll have to see it in the movies, but Jeff did catch it, and it was a big interception for Jeff.
All right, Bobby, congratulations. And Jim, of course, when the Cowboys had a chance to get back in there and tie the game, you came around and were able to jar the ball loose. Perhaps you could describe that play for us.
Well, it was a pass play. I kind of felt at the time that they were definitely going to have to pass, so I took a gamble with a real hard outside rush, and fortunate enough to get around the offensive tackle and looked up, and there was the quarterback.
And, of course,
job easy after that.
The man who recovered it right here, Gary, come on up here on this platform with us, too. Not only did you recover that fumble after Jim spared it loose, but you also got the one down there by the goal line. So that's 2 fumbles for you in the second half, big guy.
Well, you have to give credit to the guy that hit him. I know Jim hit it, and the ball bounced right at my hands, and I'm not sure who hit the second one down the goal line, but I heard a heck of a collision, and I looked up, and the ball bounced right in my hands again. I mean, there's not much credit you can take for recovering them when they come right to you like that.
You know, Bobby, coming into the game, the most celebrated Cowboy of all was Drew Pearson, and you were all over him a couple of times today, too.
Well, they did try to throw to him a couple of times, and I was fortunate to be in the right place.
Tell us a little bit about this Viking team. Last week against Washington, you had a bad first half, and they tell us that Carl Eller had to come in and pick you guys up at halftime. You didn't need any of that incentive today, did you, Jim?
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. We knew exactly what we had to do today. We had to play the defensive line had to play an extremely aggressive defensive game, and we knew that we were going to have to play on their side of the line of scrimmage. They run a lot of play passes and things of that sort, and the best way to defend against them is by a very aggressive defense, and we were aggressive today.
Gary, any choice of who you'd prefer to play in the Super Bowl, Oakland or Miami?
Well, they asked me the same question last week, and I'll give you the same answer. I know one team that's going to be there. It's going to be the Minnesota Vikings. I don't care who shows up to take us on.
All right, and they also had some offensive stars, Fran Tarkenton and John Gilliam, and we'll be back with them at the winner's dressing room at the NFC Championships in just a moment.
Welcome to the penal colonnade of French Guiana, whose prisoners you are, and from which there is no escape.
Steve McQueen, Dustin Hoffman, Papillon, the greatest adventure of escape ever filmed. Rated PG.
It's a tough world. To stay on top, you got to be fast.
but sometimes I bite off more than I can chew. I get a real beauty. My head is pounding, my stomach is upset, and I feel achy. So I rest up and I take Alka-Seltzer. It's got specially buffered aspirin with antacids. If I don't feel better, I see the doctor. Because nothing I can get on my own works better than Alka-Seltzer. I know how to look out for myself.
With the score 10-7, these two gentlemen turned it around again for the Minnesota Vikings. Fran Tarkenton on my right with a 54-yard touchdown pass to John Gilliam. Beautiful pattern and a beautiful throw, John.
Thank you, Fran. I think you have to give Fran some credit because he threw a great ball, and we called Cornell Green was taking away our crossing pattern. So Fran saw it, and he told me to just beat him on the backside, and I just ran a good pattern.
You know, Pat Summerall and Wayne Walker were making the observations today that you were throwing on first down. You certainly weren't as scared of Mel Renfro as some teams had been in the past. You did some things that I don't think the Cowboys expected, Fran.
Well, our whole philosophy in these playoff games is not to try to keep from losing them, but to try to go out and win them. And that's what we've done these last 2 weeks, and we'll try to do in the big one in Houston. And that man right there has been the big man for our offense all year. John has had a super year, and I've never seen a better receiver than he is. I've never played with one, and he made his big play again today for us.
Twice in the first half, 4th and 1. Not scared to gamble, were you, Fran?
Well, that's Bud Grant's decision, and Bud Grant makes right decisions all the time. And if he'd have made the decision not to go, that'd have been fine too. But he thought we should, and we did, and we made it.
Francis, congratulations along with John Gilliam. And now let's go across the way where Jack Whitaker is standing by with Dallas Cowboy coach Tom Landry.
Coach Tom Landry here, who saw all his hard work and planning and dedication end here today, and just kind of a tough moment, Tom.
Well, it really is, but, you know, Minnesota played an excellent football game. They came prepared, and they whipped us the first half especially. They gave us a chance to come back after our punt return, and it seemed like the same thing happened to us that happened to L.A. last week. They came right back, as good teams will on their day, and hit us with the bomb and neutralize all the advantage we had with the punt return. And after that, we had other chances, but we just didn't seem to have the edge to go in the score anymore.
What was halftime like here in the locker room? Because your defense came out, seemed tremendously fired up in that second half.
Well, we knew we had to do a great job. It wasn't that we were doing such a bad job the first half. It was what Minnesota was doing. They were doing a super job the first half, both defensively and offensively, and we couldn't stop them defensively, and we couldn't move against them offensively, so you can't say much more than that. But we were ready the second half, I thought, but some days it's not your day.
Some days it isn't, and unfortunately one day can take you out of the big one, can't it?
That's right. It's all the only unfortunate thing about football is that there's only one winner, and that's the Super Bowl winner. Everybody else is losers, so that's the tough thing.
Now you go back and prepare for next year.
That's right. We have to start again, and we got a good team. We got a good young team, and they played super football all year, and it's too bad it ended today.
Thank you very much, Coach Landry. Thank you. We'll return to the winner's dressing room here at the NFC Championship game in just a moment.
I'm George Blanda, and when I'm not with the Raiders, I deliver for REA Air Express. Uniting the states, it's REA Express on the ground and 31 airlines getting your shipment on the first flight out. Right now, we can deliver to 522 airport cities in just one day. That's performance. Check the white pages for Air Express and ship with a winner. They hit your receiver every time. I know, because I work with them.
It's tough to put a Muriel down. It's tough to put a Muriel down. With so much flavor going for you, it's tough to put a Muriel down. It's tough to put a Muriel down. You're gonna want to take it with you all around. You get so much for so little. It's tough to put a Muriel down.
Back here in the locker room of the Minnesota Vikings, Oscar Reed, the running back on my left, and on my right, linebacker Wally Hilgenberg. And Oscar, they said you could not run against the Dallas Cowboys, but you folks went out there and really sustained an offense.
Well, we've been stressing the run for the last week or so in Dallas because we know that other teams has had a problem running on them, and we felt that if we could run on them, we could beat them.
Wally, early in the second half, Jack Buck made the observation that first offensive play was going to be terribly important for the Cowboys. They came with a screen pass, something they had not shown you in the first half. You read it perfectly.
Well, we had the right defense called, Brent.
it was my force coming up on it, and I just happened to see the back sneaking out there and got up quick and got a good hit on it. And when you got the right defense called against the right play, you usually can come out okay.
You know, the Vikings don't blitz very often, but when they do, it can really be important. I remember back with the Los Angeles Rams when Jeff Seaman came and got John Hadle. Today, you went and got Roger Staubach.
Well, again, we had the right call at the right time, and we feel that the blitz is a better weapon if used as an element of surprise and do it less often. And so we don't try to live on it, but we use it as a weapon once in a while.
Wally, let's bring the head coach up here, Bud Grant, who designed this game plan, got this team together. Coach, congratulations on another tremendous effort. I know that yesterday you had predicted that this might wind up being a high-scoring game, and you said, I'm not so sure I'm going to be right about that.
Well, I certainly didn't predict all the turnovers in the ball game, but those things happen, and we were able to take a little more advantage of them than they were.
Was it any easier to defense them since they did not have Calvin Hill?
I don't think our defenses were predicated on that at all. We've had a great deal of respect for Newhouse. I can't say enough good things about Calvin Hill, and I'm sure that they missed him more than we might imagine, but we couldn't set our defenses for anybody. If he was in there, we'd have played exactly the same way, and I'm sure he would have had a great day.
Now, of course, you're going back to the Super Bowl. You remember the last time you were there, upset by the Kansas City Chiefs. I imagine you're looking forward
Well, I don't know if it was an upset. They played a great football game, and they deserved to win that day, but we've been looking forward to another trip ever since that time. This is basically the same team, and we're happy to be back, and we'll be ready.
Any choice, Miami or Oakland?
It makes no difference at all. You've got to beat the best, and we'll find out who that is a couple weeks from now.
Coach Bud Grant, congratulations not only on today's victory, but for the entire season and career you've had with the Minnesota Vikings. Like the Dallas Cowboys, the Minnesota Vikings are one of the class operations in professional football. And now for a final word, let's go back outside to Jack Whitaker.
Thank you very much, Brent. As you can see, this huge, unique stadium now almost completely empty. And the first thought that hits you is the sad irony of the signs that have festooned this place today, gaily proclaiming a Cowboy victory. Spike the Vikes, tar and feather Tarkenton, the Vikes will see the Super Bowl on CBS, etc. They now have that same sadness as those paper hats and noisemakers will have on New Year's Day morning. Because, as we know, football is a cruel game, and the losers go home and the winners go on to the Super Bowl. Dallas, as you know, probably represents the harsh standards that professional football demands from their great teams. A tremendous organization, brilliantly coached, rich in talent, and great dedication. And all that hard work, as Tom Landry said just moments ago, goes all down the drain on one afternoon or on one play or on one bounce. For Minnesota, I go back to an August evening in Bloomington when they beat Miami in a preseason game, and I had a feeling that they were like Richard Corey. They glittered when they walked. And they kept that glitter through the whole 14-game season, in the playoff game against the Redskins last week, and certainly here today. And, of course, their fans hope that they'll take that glitter right down the turnpike to Houston 2 weeks from now in the Super Bowl. The other point I think that we should mention is that this has been a year when professional football has come in for a lot of criticism in terms of dullness of its games because the field goal is taken over from the touchdown. Well, we had 3 field goals here today, but we also had a punt return of over 60 yards, an intercepted pass for a touchdown, a 52-yard bomb to Gilliam from Tarkenton, and enough turnovers to make any fan happy. I think there's a lesson here that all of us should learn. For Wayne Walker, Brent Musburger, Pat Summerall, and Jack Buck, this is Jack Whitaker saying so long from Texas Stadium in Irving, Texas.
Pro Football Report was sponsored by Dutch Masters, the fine cigar, made with 4 Latin American tobaccos, and by Allied Artists Corporation, producers of Papillon, now playing at theaters all over the country. The NFL Today was produced by CBS Television Sports.
Mannix probes the eerie world of ESP, and Barnaby Jones finds out he may have erred when he cleared a client of murder when Wayne Rogers of MASH guest stars on tonight's exciting mystery double feature here on CBS.
The American Football Conference Championship game is brought to you by Sears Tire and Auto Centers, home of the Die-Hard battery and the Sears steel-belted radial tire. By your Dodge dealer, who brings you 3 cars in one, Dart Sport Convertible. And by Amoco Oil, who urges you to conserve this country's energy.
Magic weather in the Magic City. 80 degrees in Miami, Florida today. Pretty good breeze blowing 10 to 15 miles an hour from the team defending the goal on the right. It'll be even hotter, though, down at the base of the Orange Bowl. And the roar in the background, the Miami Dolphins have just come on the field. Hi, everybody. I'm Kurt Gowdy with Al DeRogatis. Around Miami, they're calling this the real Super Bowl. Some experts claim that these are the 2 best teams in pro football, and the winner will be favored to go on and become pro football's king of the hill. Of course, the Minnesota Vikings, who are impressive today, must have a wry smile on their faces as they wait to see who they're going to play. Both teams have everything. They're potent in offense and defense. Miami earlier had an 18-game winning streak stopped by the Oakland Raiders. Today, Miami will be trying to stop an Oakland 5-game winning streak. Miami's a 6 to 8 point favorite. Part of those points must be weighted in favor of the home field advantage. The Dolphins have won 23 games in a row here in the Orange Bowl on the artificial surface. Al DeRogatis, let's take a look at some of the high spots that we'll be looking for today.
Well, Kurt, Miami Dolphins can run, and we thought the fans might like to see why they run so well. They've got a great convoy. This man particularly, Larry Little, number 66, a great running guard. He's going to be awesome today. Watch him. But right behind him, a man that isn't too far behind him, actually, 67, Kuchenberg of Notre Dame. This man has come on, 2 great guards leading an absolutely super runner. We think the secret for the Miami Dolphins is number 22, Mercury Morris, to the outside. Now on the other side, Kurt, we know that they also can run this football, and they can run it very well. They run to their left, and why? Well, Art Shell is one great reason, 78. Big, tough, mean tackle. A typical Oakland Raider. Probably the guy that might be number 2 as an offensive guard to Larry Little is Gene Upshaw, 63. And as you watch these 2 men go off the ball, keep your eye on 44 because he comes very quickly. An awesome back, Marvin, the man from Colgate, Hubbard. Quite a guy.
All right, you know, Oakland's known as a left-handed team running to the left. Maybe they'll go right-handed today.
Good possibility. They've been selling left so hard, they'll probably go the other way.
Really sold it. Well, we've had a look at the Raiders and the Dolphins. They're getting ready for the opening kickoff of the American Football Conference Championship game.
Once upon a time, there was the Track 2 and the Schick Super 2. Now, Track 2 got a fast start, but the Schick Super 2 took its time. The Schick Super 2 was also made to fit all twin-bladed razors, but with super chromium edges for super safe shaves. And now that the Schick Super 2 has all that going for it, who would you put your money on?
There's a new pioneer spirit in America today, the spirit of conservation. It's people realizing there's just not as much energy as we're used to having. And we can help keep factories working and paychecks coming in and America going strong if we just drive a little slower and heat our homes and businesses a little less. If everybody dials down 6 degrees at home and slows down on the highways, it'll conserve enough fuel to provide energy for more than 1 million American jobs, and that's vital to all of us. Amoco Oil is doing all they can to get more energy to us, but until the shortage eases, it's up to all of us to make what there is go further. There's a shortage of energy, but not of the American spirit. Keep your spirit up, the spirit of conservation for the sake of America.
We'll have the acting out of the flip of the coin, which was won, by the way, by the Miami Dolphins. They always want the ball when they win the flip. They'll receive on your left. The Oakland Raiders in black will kick off on your right. That's Gene Upshaw, Willie Davis, Bob Greasy, Mumford, Larry Little, and Nick Bonacani. Nick Bonacani's been very good on these coin flips this year. He won 11 in a row. Then he lost 3 in a row, and he's come back to win 2 in the playoffs. Let's go down on the field now.
Please rise. The invocation will be offered by Rabbi Irving Lehrman, Temple Emmanuel, Miami Beach, Florida.
The PA system here is not working. We're having a prayer. I'll remain quiet while it's on. And we'll have the playing of the national anthem. It'll be sung by Anita Bryant.
A greater sense of human fellowship and brotherhood in a world at peace. Amen.
The national anthem will be sung by Anita Bryant.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's end, whose broad slopes and bright stars through the fair light for and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave through the night that our flag was still there.
They're hearing everything today. Swimsuits, T-shirts, white suits, sun-drenched crowd in the Orange Bowl. The game is being televised locally with a sellout this week. John Madden back in the championship game again. 5 times in the last 7 years, the Oakland Raiders have gone to the championship of the old AFL or the American Football Conference. Been a very dominant team. Don Shula trying to take his team to an unprecedented 3rd American Football Conference championship in a row and a 3rd successive trip to the Super Bowl. No team has ever done this. The officials, Tommy Bell, who's an attorney at law elected in Kentucky, is the referee. Paul Trapinski, a real estate man, is the